Guys, let's talk about how to use human psychology to our advantage, right? We want to kind of leverage every piece of, every psychological sales advantage, using copy, every psychological advantage we can do, from an image perspective, just so we can give ourselves, the highest probability and chance of actually being successful with our advertisements. So micro expressions are those fraction of a second expressions that sweep across our face as an involuntary subconscious response to something, right? So the seven strongest include disgust, anger, fear, sadness, happiness, surprise, and contempt. And substituting these onto the faces of your made images can immediately translate an emotion to people instantly without using a single line of text or copy, right? And so we've talked about it before. Smiling faces, human beings in advertisements, it attracts human eyes. Humans are human beings for a reason. We're, intrinsically, instinctually attracted to other human beings, whether they're men or women, right? And so if someone's smiling, you combine that with, a beautiful woman, excuse me, and then you combine that with, one of the seven strongest micro expressions, and you've got a good ad. So let's take a little gander at some of these micro expressions and how we can actually use them, right? Because if you're thinking to yourself, yeah, like I understand disgust, anger, but like what about in practice, right? Using Google is your friend, guys. Always, always, always get in the habit of using Google. Seriously, I know for a fact that the difference between millionaire entrepreneurs and non-millionaire entrepreneurs, the millionaire entrepreneurs are just slightly more willing to teach themselves things on Google. I swear, that's literally the difference. So here we go. Disgust, right? So I literally just typed in disgust advertisements. This is a perfect one. This immediately catches my attention. He's disgusting. He's looking at it. This would be a perfect, image for some type of advertisement related to drinks. Or, you could hire someone off Fiverr to easily Photoshop out his hand, and you could have whatever text you wanted here, right? And his face immediately makes me stop and actually look at it. Let's look at another one that makes sense, right? Here's one that really catches my eye. Maybe it's a little bit too disgusting. Here's one that catches my eye, but it's probably a little bit too intense. This one definitely catches my eye also. So I mean, this is definitely one that I would use in an ad. Here's a good one also. That's funny that he appears when you put disgust in here. All right, so let's do anger advertisements. Right, so this face really catches my eye, definitely. And, there's stock photo sites that you can buy images off of. Facebook also has stock photos. I don't know if you guys have ever looked at them, but if we go to single image here, we can actually go to free stock images right here. And you can type in like angry. And, they have a ton of stuff that are just free to use here, guys. It's ridiculous, right? We can type in disgust. Here's a dog. There's a great one, right? So there's literally basically an unlimited supply of images, and some stock images may not comply with Facebook policies. But it's important to note that even though the watermark does show here, the watermark will not appear in the final ad image. And so no, using these are kind of a good start. And if you want to download these images and actually like put like a little overlay of text saying like 20% off or whatever it is, you can just download these directly from Shutterstock. And so literally, guys, there's so many options here. All you have to do to find that again is just to click over to single image right here in the ad section, and then just go to, instead of browse library or upload images, browse library is looking at images you've already uploaded. Upload images, you can like upload them from your actual computer. Free stock images, and you can type in anything you want, right? Fear. Yeah, so here's, people that are afraid, right? Everyone's pointing the finger at them. These are fantastic ads. Look at how well this captures your attention, right? The kind of shocking, beautiful eye of this person, kind of the dark contrast in the background, mixing this type of ad or making it all black and white except for the eye. Like, those are just beautiful ways to start to just attract people's attention. Because sometimes you'll see advertisements that have images that are just really captivating and eye-catching and beautiful, and they don't really have a ton to do with the actual ad itself, right? Because sometimes the purpose of the image, guys, is just to attract someone's attention, just to pattern interrupt their normal auto scroll habits of going through Facebook and to show them something, right? So, combining the micro expressions with smiling people, especially beautiful women, really has a powerful impact, guys. And then again, combining this with additional micro commitments, such as clicking an ad, filling out a form, clicking a button, giving someone their email, reading a paragraph of text. Once somebody gives you a micro commitment, like they read your whole text, or you have them encapsulated in some even very small way, they're much more likely to continue down your sales funnel and actually do what you want them to do, whether it's give you their email, or sign up for a webinar, or download a cheat sheet, or absorb some type of free value. Once they micro commit by being entertained and their interest being captured by your image, and they make a micro commitment of reading your ad, clicking on your ad, filling out their email, then you're much more likely to actually be able to convert them into a purchase. So let's take a look at this example right here. We see that there's two types of ways to create an ad: having the ad image on the right, or having the ad image on the left, and then having the ad text on the right, or having the ad text on the left. So our brains, guys, are basically set up to process images on the left and text on the right, and our eyes move right from top to bottom, left to right. So orienting your ad correctly really makes a huge difference. And I can really see the difference here, right? Like, here's two examples with the guy on the left and the guy on the right. And the guy on the right just looks very awkward to me, having the text on the left versus having the actual ad image on the left and having the text on the right. I'm a human being. I'm naturally kind of inclined to look at a smiling, relatively attractive looking person, and then it just makes a lot more sense, a lot more logical sense to have the text over here on the right. So whenever you're designing an ad, right, remember that people are going to look first at the image, and then it's just awkward to drag your eyes to the left after you've already looked to the right. And so I know that seems very minor, guys, but it's not. Advertising is all about like the little details and the visual cues, and just kind of leveraging all the different psychological aspects that we can, getting people to make micro commitments, right? Kind of using micro expressions to, again, pattern interrupt to get people to actually pay attention, and then orienting your ad correctly so that people are looking at kind of the ad model first, and then the ad text, and kind of the call to action and what you actually want them to read, right? So that is just a very basic introduction of how to use human psychological advantages, human psychology to your advantage, how to take advantage of micro expressions, how to orient your ad correctly, and then again, how to use the actual free stock images really to type in basically anything we want, right? Like we could type in sadness here, and they're gonna have a ton of stock photos for us that portray those emotions, and people respond to emotions, guys. So it's this is a very basic kind of introduction, but these are very, very powerful tools that should be used for good, right? But they're very powerful tools that are going to make your advertisements so much more effective. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one, guys, and let's get to the next.